conservatives have been disgusting for years, which is why I don't give a about anybody that winds up at any of these rallies and gets shot or whatever
You need conservatives to be afraid of getting killed when they go to events so that they look to their leadership to turn down the temperature.
You have no, like, it's actually kind of scary, like how close I was to getting people together to go down to his house and kill his family. Or it would have just been him and his father. Because I didn't know anything about it.
I mean, just last week, Destiny essentially called for more conservatives to be murdered. Let that sink in. And he wasn't joking. He wasn't being ironic.
Nuts.
He basically stated outright that he believes more people on our side should die.
I don't think he should lose his platform completely. I do think that there should be some consequence for anybody who's calling out for people to die.
Drink the coffee, it'll make you feel better.
Destiny is losing everything from liberal hive mind. Let's check it out.
Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Well, this is an interesting update. Steve Bennell II, otherwise known as Destiny, one of the loudest and nastiest voices radicalizing lost kids online, was just hit with a pretty severe reprimand after engaging in very despicable off-platform rhetoric.
Did he lose his YouTube channel?
Direct incitement to violence. And you know, the left really wants to gaslight us into somehow being outraged over this. If not, then we're hypocrites on the issue of cancel culture. That's got to be the biggest crock of crap currently being pushed around the internet right now. I simply refuse to accept the premise. In this case, this decision was good. If you've been calling for more conservatives to be murdered directly and clearly, if you're celebrating political murder and violence, then please don't pretend to be the victim when you face obvious consequences. But let me show you guys what's going on, all the details, and let's of course talk about it. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so take a look. Destiny claims that his channel has now been broadly demonetized on YouTube.
I feel like my YouTube is going to get permaban soon.
Oh, wow. He said this at the... Okay, so Destiny's actually going around trying to do the same thing Charlie Kirk did, which is speak at what I think are universities. So that's that. Here, more on that later.
Because I got like broad demonetized yesterday for that I didn't even cite a video. So I don't know. I'll appeal it. We'll see what happens. But I mean, if Kimmel is getting canceled from ABC, I don't know.
Did he just try to compare himself to Jimmy Kimmel? There's no way. This man right here has called for the death of conservatives. Literally. Not implied it, not downplayed the death of Charlie Kirk or any other person. He's called for more people to die. Destiny, right here. And there's proof out there for it. And for a while, I used to wonder, how is he able to do this? Aren't people afraid that he's going to encourage people to start taking out political officials? And, you know, like this would get really bad.
And of course, quick context and caveat, for purposes of full transparency, Destiny, of course, is an online troll and provocateur. Just recently, he lied and rage-baited the internet into thinking that he was banned on Twitch for his comments about Charlie Kirk, but that Twitch ban post was actually from 2022 and he was simply recycling it to basically mislead his detractors. Now, it's possible that some of this is theater, but based on what we're seeing from his actual viewers, it seems as though his channel memberships have been canceled, as well as his live stream super chat is now fully disabled, so basically a loss of revenue functions. It does look real, unless Destiny himself actually shut off the monetization functions, which would be next level. I think it's credible. So I'm operating under the assumption, the premise that it is in fact real and Destiny has been demonetized. And I gotta tell you, I never thought I'd sit here and celebrate somebody's demonetization, but in this case, oh, I am celebrating. And again, I'll repeat, I will not be gaslit into believing that this is the same thing as left-wing cancel culture. Don't even try it. This is not the same thing as somebody getting banned for questioning a medical procedure or simply having a differing opinion or position on or trans issues. No, Destiny's demonetization, I think, is quite self-evident. And I mean that quite literally. I don't even think I have to argue it.
No, you don't have to argue it. I mean, I remember during the George Floyd period, no one liked that video. At least I spoke out. In fact, I was speaking out against that video. And a lot of people don't know that was around the time when I gained like 130,000 followers on TikTok. Now, that version of myself probably would disagree more than agree with this version of who I am now. The older I've gotten, getting married, having a family has changed a lot of my perspectives on a lot. But I'm also somebody who still holds some of the same opinions, right? And I don't look at people and say, I'm only going to associate myself with people who agree with me 100%. But why did I bring up George Floyd? Well, because Though I can definitely agree and say that there were people downplaying and making fun of that whole situation. And there were people who did take it too far. And I remember calling people out for that. This is different in the sense that you have people with large platforms, not just your everyday person. No. People who hold actual influence saying we need to kill more people. They need to be afraid of dying. And one of those people was Destiny.
Argue it. All I need to do is play some of the clips of him speaking, and it becomes very obvious why platforms view him as a liability, and they're now turning on him.
Dude, the firefighter guy, Trump, the people that support him. I just want you to know, okay? If one of you were in the crowd and you're a conservative fan of mine and you end up, getting blown away or whatever I'm making fun of you the next day on Twitter. I am. Conservatives have been disgusting for years, which is why I don't give a about anybody that winds up at any of these rallies and gets shot or whatever you need conservatives to be afraid of getting killed when they go to events so that they look to their leadership to turn down the temperature.
You have no, it's actually kind of scary, how close I was to getting people together to go down to his house and kill his family. Or it would have just been him and his father. Because I didn't know anything about it.
I mean, just last week, Destiny essentially called for more conservatives to be murdered. Let that sink in. And he wasn't joking. He wasn't being ironic.
Nuts.
He basically stated outright that he believes more people on our side should die. That's incitement to violence. That crosses every line in the book. He's not just disagreeing with me or you. No, he's explicitly saying that I should be shot, that more people in my line of work should be assassinated for our viewpoints. We also know that he celebrated Cory Compatore's murder at a Trump rally. He called it justified. In other words, if I were shot tomorrow at a Trump rally, Destiny would believe that that is justified, and he would encourage that.
And the thing is that there are people out there who believe that people like myself, if I saw somebody who identified as far left and they got killed, that I would get on here and say, good. I would never say that. I would never say that. And I also believe that everybody's capable of becoming this very person who's calling for the death of other people. And I'm also humble enough to say, God, please do whatever you can in my life to make sure I never become anybody who's calling for anybody else's death. Let's talk about the sponsor of this channel, fathershaverights.com. Engaged and soon-to-be married men, hiring the wrong lawyer can leave you with an overpriced, unenforceable prenup. Avoid the trap. Inside my step-by-step guide at fathershaverights.com, renowned attorneys James Sexton and the lead attorney lay out the exact questions to ask, red flags to spot, and proven steps to hiring the perfect prenup lawyer. The guide itself costs only a couple of dinner dates, far less than a single billable hour. Hit the link pinned to the top of the comment section, lock in your guide, and join the hundreds of men securing their marriages the right way.
That's who this guy is, and that's the kind of rhetoric that he's releasing online. And so let me ask you, how is that the same as left-wing cancel culture? Well, obviously it isn't. And I want to be as consistent as possible. I am still against cancel culture. I'm not cheering when people get punished for benign opinions. If a left-winger was deplatformed for something mild, I'd be the first person to step up and condemn it. But that is not what this is. This is a punishment for incitement, for violent rhetoric, for justifying political murder. That is entirely different. And let me issue a challenge to anybody watching. Please, name me one case where a left-winger was deplatformed for a normal, benign opinion. Go ahead. I will wait. If it exists, please show it to me, and I will again be the first person to side with that individual, regardless of whether they're on the left or the right. But the reality is, examples of that almost don't exist, because we know historically the hammer has only come down almost exclusively on conservatives. And so no, Destiny is not a victim here. Rather, I believe he's the architect of his own destruction. This is the inevitable result of years of spewing poison and pretending that, oh, it's just jokes. It's just hyperbolic commentary. It obviously isn't. And clearly this isn't even a free speech issue. Demonetization is not the same thing as deplatforming. I'm not saying that Destiny should lose his right to speak. No, my view there is quite clear. Unless a court convicts him of direct criminal incitement, then I don't want him thrown in jail. I don't want him permanently gagged off the internet. I don't want him sent to a gulag or a re-education camp like many of the left seem to want. No, he can keep talking if the platforms let him, but companies now taking away the ability to profit off.
Well, the re-education camp is they want you to go to university. From what I've seen, that's the re-education camp.
Inciting terrorism in the country. That's not cancel culture. That's companies for the first time actually doing the right thing. You know, that's where the line should have been drawn. There and there alone. And all other benign political speech should be allowed. And what a ridiculous concept, too, the idea that we should now feel bad, that we should be accepting lectures on cancel culture and policing speech online, when this is the Democrat track record.
We will hold social media platforms accountable for the hate infiltrating their platforms because they have a responsibility to help fight against this threat to our democracy. And if you profit off of hate, if you act as a megaphone for misinformation or cyber warfare, if you don't police your platforms, we are going to hold you accountable.
I think we need to push back on this. There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
But I also think there are Americans who are engaged in this kind of propaganda, and whether they should be civilly or even in some cases criminally charged is something that would be a better deterrent.
You know,
This is why I think it's so crazy when I see the people protesting Disney and saying, "Oh, they're using their power to silence people's speech," so on and so forth, with the whole Jimmy Kimmel situation. I'm reminded of Mark Zuckerberg getting on Joe Rogan and saying, "Hey, the Biden administration, they were pressuring us to censor real news, things that were true. They were pressuring us." He said that. And so it is hypocritical for them to say, "Oh, look what this new administration is doing."
please miss me with this high-level hypocrisy. And just to take it a step further, maybe this sounds crazy, but I'll say it anyways. Again, I don't want Destiny to be removed off the internet. I don't want him to lose his free speech rights. No, my hope is actually quite the opposite. My real hope is that Destiny finally snaps out of it. I hope he has a wake-up call, and with it, a redemption arc. I don't want him to be killed. I don't want him to be silenced. I don't want him to be permanently erased from the internet. No, that's what they want. That's what they want done to us. What I want is for him to stop with this deranged spiral and actually find some humanity, maybe find God. And I think that's the fundamental difference between us and them.
Yeah. The question is, what do you do when you see your whole worldview perspective and finally realizing that it just can't survive in a normal civil society? You start crashing out. And I'll tell you when I stopped really taking Destiny that serious is when I found out, not when the accusations came out of women accusing him of filming them while he was sleeping with them, or when I found out that he was sexually out of control, sleeping with women and men continuously. It was actually when somebody pretty much said that the guy might be on a lot of drugs. And Adderall may be one of those drugs. I don't know. I don't know for sure, but I know a credible source has said he's on something. We don't know what he's on, but he's on something. And he's never said, hey, those claims are false. So I assume he's on something. And it was made 100% real for me when I went to go check out the interview between him and Jordan Peterson, right? The camera's going to pan out and you're going to see his full body, like a frame shot of his full body. And you see him like twitching around, like moving around. Maybe that's just something he's had his whole life. Like myself, people ask, you see that I shake a little bit, right? It's a little bit more amped up depending on what I'm doing, if I'm exercising or not. Sometimes it's all the way calm. But that's been me since I was a kid, ever since I could remember. Part of the reason why I drink my coffee with two hands. Somebody said, hey, Chisha, don't drink your coffee with two hands. It looks gay. I thought that was funny. But I don't think that's the case. I think Destiny has to be on some shit. Now, with that being said, I also want to double on the fact that I actually have learned some stuff from Destiny. I've seen him debate and have conversations, and he's talented in that arena. You may disagree. Maybe it's because you're an expert debater. I don't claim to be, but I've also learned some things in just watching him debate. And I can admit that, right? I'm not somebody who sits here and wants to disagree on every point on somebody who I think is a net negative, which I absolutely believe at this point he is. I do hope that he finds his way to being a better influence and also gets his life together and stops calling for the death of people because they just think differently than he does. A few comments here. Top comment says he lost his income. He lost his wife. His son hates him. Somebody else here says they've spent the past decade trying to destroy us. Do not give them any inch. Somebody else who says Destiny was in an open relationship and his spouse literally still left him. This is the new definition of pathetic. Yeah, that was a very pathetic marriage. An open marriage, letting other men sleep with your wife. I mean, atrocious things when you really think about it. Somebody else who says the guy is a psychopath He's very lucky he's not in prison. Here's somebody else who says, if you say marriage is between a man and a woman, that's violence to the left. Right. Storming a federal building, assaulting federal officers, arsenal, and urging people to delete Trump. Free speech to the left. Deplatforming works and is important. AOC 2023. Now, that's the interesting thing, right? If you go back and you look at everything that's happening to people who are currently complaining about companies letting them go, you soon realize that it's the same thing that happened in Hollywood. You soon realize that mainstream media used to have a grip before independent media came and democratized the media space, and are now experiencing a lot of what they went through. I don't think he should lose his platform completely. I do think that there should be some consequence for anybody who's calling out for people to die. We're talking about people who want other people to die for what they believe. Just insane. Hey guys, as always, I appreciate you for checking out yet another episode of the Coffee Pod. To my currently engaged or soon to be married men, if you need a prenup and would like a guide that shows you how to get a solid and legally binding prenuptial agreement, hit the link pinned to the top of the comment section and access your guide at fathershaverights.com today.